Your play, The Popess, Instructions for Freedom, is based on a movement back in 13th century Italy, which challenged the male-dominated Catholic Church. How did you come across the story?
Well, accidentally, although I don't believe in accidents, but I was just, bored during lockdown and I was trying to make sense of the major arcana and minor arcana, but I started with the major arcana with some friends. I do tarot readings and I was just very interested in the archetypes. And I was just flicking through the booklet for the Rider Waite, and when I got to the second card, which is the High Priestess, and the story was unbelievable. I didn't know anything about it. This woman from Milan called Maifreda Visconti, where Pirovano Visconti is a relative of a very powerful family at that time in the 1300s, well, late to 1200s, 1300s. And she was the inspiration for this card, for the tarot deck of the Visconti tarot deck, which was made a century and a half later, after the events that I'm narrating in the show. And I'm from Italy and I never heard of it. None of my friends who read tarot knew about it. And I was like, how come? And I started delving into it and researching, and I thought it was fascinating. And it felt like the veil of the High Priestess was just, the veil of knowledge had been, lifted, and I had to put it out there for other people to know about it.
So she inspired the priestess card in the tarot deck.
Apparently,
Yeah.
there are several stories about it. Of course, the tarot already existed by that time, but this particular woman was the inspiration for this specific deck, of the created by Bembo and commissioned by the Visconti Sforza family in 1450 or something. And the story goes back to 1260 to 1300 when everything ended. So it makes us assume that maybe the cult, the belief in this woman, and the Popess as well. Guglielmo was the Holy Spirit, and the Popess, my Freda, was a vicar on earth, continued in the family. And not only that, but also this divination and cult. I don't want to say cult, but fascination and worship of the female, the divine feminine, continued in the family as well. But that's hypothetical, but probably.
So, I mean, as you've said, it's a fairly obscure bit of religious history. What was the process for turning the story into a play?
That was a bit tricky initially because I didn't know how to put it all together, everything that I wrote and scribbled really, and the research, which is really minimal. There's no much you can find. But then I worked with Colin. Colin Watkins is the deviser and director of the show. We worked together on another show before. He specializes in solo shows and is fantastic. He can just help you taking everything out of your hat very easily. And he uses cards as well. Sometimes the structure of the tarot cards, sometimes just cards to talk about the characters and give them qualities and level of qualities, low and high. And it was very smooth. Working with him is very smooth and liberating. So it was actually really, really nice process.
Now, you also perform the play. How do the challenges of writing and performing compare, and what do you love about each?
Um, so I was never a writer before the previous show, and I
Mm.
never thought I could write anything. I still think I can't write anything unless I have a very compelling story that drives me. And I just don't sit down and write something. I need a character, and I need characters, and then through the characters, something develops. I think it's very similar to acting in many ways because that's. I think when you act, then you create that inner story inside of you because the writer does give you ideas, but not everything, and you have to create a world, or parts of that world anyway. So they're not similar in that sense, or at least it's similar in the way I create these stories. But then I think when you perform your own shows, it's a bit easier because you have written everything already. So you know all the insights that you don't know when you're performing someone else's show. And you always feel like, am I doing it right? Am I, giving the right voice to this person, to this character, or not? I don't know.
What would be your ideal, bearing in mind that you are more of a performer than a writer, and writing is something that you haven't done as much of up to this point. What would be your ideal next project?
I have an idea for the next. I have two ideas for the next project. Projects probably. And I think one of them is particularly compelling to me and urgent. So I have to get it done after all this run, and focus on it. But I like to expand my writing and learn a bit more, and maybe go across medium as well. I love to do something for the screen, but I feel like I'm so behind yet. I don't know. But I like to cross over and get to the next level, or at least the next medium. And I don't know if the next show I write will be a two-hander or a solo show. I need to. It really depends on the characters, as Colin says. Whatever they dictate to me. If it's going to be a solo or two more, I don't know. Let's see.
Now I'm gonna put you in the audience
Okay.
now, take you off the stage, put you in the audience. What is your favorite type of theatre to watch, and is there something you've seen recently that deserves a shout out?
Hmm. I definitely liked text. I really like text-based theatre. I also like physical theatre a lot, and I use it in my shows. But I love a good text, especially if it's a bit obscure with dark humor. I like that kind of black humor. Um, Things I saw recently, I think before the holiday break, well, very classically, I went to the Globe and I watched Mary Wiser Windsor. That was very dark humor. I liked it, and so I like classical plays, but as well as new ones. I follow a lot of independent performers like me. There's a lot of amazing work out there. An independent performance I saw was Catherine Haywood with Yoga and Sex for Women Over 40. That was hilarious.